Good morning everyone and welcome back to my channel WordSteps. Welcome to my new style of videos, and today I'm interviewing another mum of a child with selective mutism. I totally believe that it's so important to hear what it's like to be a parent of a child with selective mutism, never mind all the stuff that I've got to say and suggest. Today we've got Jessica, who is a mother of 4 gorgeous girls, and her third girl actually has been diagnosed with selective mutism. Hello Jessica and welcome. Now Jessica, you're from the UK and I have been supporting parents from all over the world. Tell us a little bit about your daughter.
She's now, will be 11 in June. She was diagnosed when she was 4, and when she was a lot younger, sort of toddling sort of age, I guess it wasn't, I didn't notice any really obvious signs. You know, she was talking normally in front of people. She went to, I guess the first time she went to a setting without me, like a play group, yes, was when she was 3. And again, there wasn't, I don't think there was any issues, but looking back now, there was signs that there was issues. And it wasn't really till halfway through her sort of reception first year at school that, I don't know if there was a bit of an incident but school eventually came and said to me that she's just stopped speaking, and they didn't know why. But again, because of my family history, I kind of knew what it was straight away, really.
Yeah, I'm really fascinated actually. You've already mentioned family history, and that's something that as professionals we always want to know, because we know that genetic has a huge impact in anxiety. Maybe sometimes not all the way to selective mutism, but what is your experience with selective mutism in your family?
Well, when I was in primary school, it was something that I had. Again, differently to how my daughter presents with it, but so as I've got 2 other children that went to school before her, I guess I was almost bracing myself for, like, are they okay? Are they you know, are they fine? Are they speaking okay? And because they went to school fine, I didn't think that there'd be any kind of link that it was going to be an issue. So obviously when she first went to school and things, again, wasn't expecting it, and as far as I know, she was fine, and that's obviously up until halfway through the first year. And then as soon as they'd said she's not speaking, it was like, I know selective mutism, I've heard of it, I think but I didn't, no one ever said to me when I was young what it was, and I think it was probably when I was as an adult. And I can remember there was I think there was a BBC documentary on it, and obviously they were talking about I couldn't speak in school, and obviously the penny dropped, and it was that was me. So
absolutely.
I just didn't think that, wasn't really expecting it to be something that was going to be an issue with my daughters. Certainly not. Well, the first 2 are fine. I've not treated the third one any different as far as I know, so we should be okay. Because the teachers came to me and said, obviously she stopped speaking, and they initially, I think we got referred to a speech and language therapist, and we had to wait quite a while to be seen. And we did finally get seen, and she we had sort of 1 session with her, and she confirmed that yes, it's selective mutism. But again, I think because of, obviously, depending on where you are in the country, it's not always speech and language that deal with it. So they basically told us that, no, we don't deal with it, we don't have the pathway, you need to see a educational psychologist. So then we had to wait again. So we had a diagnosis, but then because they didn't offer any treatment, we then had to wait again. I think she didn't see educational psychologist until she was in year 1, and that's when she finally put official kind of interventions in school for everybody to follow. So that's basically the route we went.
And so I'm really, yes, you're absolutely right that the pathways across the whole of the United Kingdom are different. In Scotland, it's very much the same. It depends on what authority you live. We are trying really hard as the National Selective Mutism SEN, which is the Clinical Educational Network, is to make sure that we have a continuity across the country, because what I hear from parents is that they're confused. I don't know who to go to. Shall I go to the GP? Shall I go to the speech therapist? Speech therapist can't see us, blah, blah, blah. So it's really nice to hear that you had an educational psychologist involved. So what were the strategies and what did they do to support your child and you as a family?
Before we saw an educational psychologist, I did a lot of reading. I went onto the various websites. So when she was in foundation, I'd read about like sliding in. So I was going into the school after school when I went to pick her up, and we just sort of spent 10 minutes in the classroom. I guess it was quite an informal, because I didn't really have a specific plan, but I knew that it just had to be me and her in a corner of the classroom, well away from the teachers, and gradually we moved them. And within a few months, she was able to speak to both of her class teachers, which was great. But because we didn't have a professional on board at this stage, all the kind of hard work there wasn't. We didn't sort of then transfer it to the year one teachers. So then it's you kind of start over again with the year one teachers, because nothing was put into place. And I think having a professional on board kind of means that they then produce a nice plan of what's got to happen, when's got to happen, who's doing it. So you've got that, and then the school, they know what they're doing, and so they have to follow it. And
Absolutely.
So without that, as much as we did make progress, we did make some progress with her, which was great, but it just meant that we kind of had to keep stopping and starting with each obviously new teacher, and it took a while before, maybe till she was in year I think sort of 3 or 4, years 3 or 4, before the transition plan was properly being implemented. Sort of lots of work before she went into the new class.
I think that one of the most important aspects when, as professionals, we identify a child with selective mutism, and this is what I teach in my course, is that we need to create a pathway for that child. And the first thing that it has to happen is to have a meeting whereby in Scotland it's called a child planning meeting, whereby the child is in the centre and everyone is brought together to have a plan. And a transition plan, above all, it's important, because we know that when the child starts to speak, it's really difficult for that child to, on their own, to overgeneralize and to speak to everyone. So you've raised a really important aspect, and for myself and many other of my colleagues that support other young therapists or therapists that have never heard about selective mutism, I would say if you need to really learn, the first thing is how to support the parents and to set up a meeting, so then we can go back and say, right, what has worked, what hasn't worked, where are we going next? And you're right, otherwise you're back to start when you change class, because we know that in the UK we've got a new teacher for every year that the child is. But because I support parents from all over the world, in part of Europe, like France and Germany and Italy, the teacher actually stayed the same from year 1 up to all the year 5. So that could be a good thing, sometimes not necessarily a good thing. So where is she at now in terms of her communication? So she is now 10, almost 11. So where is she at in terms of her progress?
Well, my daughter, she's with her. It is generally school where she has most of her issues. So out and about, strangers in the street, shops, it's not a problem. So it is purely school, and it's it's took a long while to, and she has made improvements. you've got a class of maybe about 30 children, and some of the advice about how to do sliding in, and that again, this may be, I suppose you have to tailor it to each child, and some of the advice was suggesting doing things, well, but once you've done a few children, then you can start on a group, or it's things like having a small group within the classroom. A lot of that didn't work for her because she was very aware of like who was around, who was listening. So we had to almost literally do people one at a time. So from essentially reception class to where she is now, she's probably done the majority of the children in her class, or I think 2 or 3 that she's still not comfortable speaking with. So then that means, and obviously her teachers, we were able to, I think her teachers are slightly easier than the children. So each time she's had a new teacher, we've set time to slide those in, and then we've just been gradually working through the rest of the class. I mean, one thing that I didn't sort of step out from the sliding in process, because I was quite aware that, you know, the school obviously have got a large class with lots of children with all different interventions that they need doing for them, and I felt that if I stepped out, that it wouldn't happen, or that they wouldn't make time, or that they wouldn't make as much progress. So probably up until she was in year 5, I was still going into school about 3 times a week to make sure that the interventions were happening. A lot of the time it was because I used it with my daughter and obviously be the conversation partner, and then the teacher would be in the class with, you know, a small group, or so they worked with the other children. So that's how we sort of handled getting them closer and closer. And again, with me being involved, it meant it was a lot easier to manage when you start talking sort of small groups of children. You kind of need more adults in the room, so it made more sense for me to kind of continue to do it. But as we've got down to smaller numbers, I then stepped out. But yeah, there's still a couple of children she's not comfortable with, and they are children that I think there's possibly a bit of a personality clash, so she's not kind of keen on them, unfortunately, which I think that then makes it harder, you know, because often children were a lot easier. Some of them were very close friends. It was kind of straight away almost she was able to speak to them once she was away from the rest of the class.
This is the end of part 1 of the interview with Jessica. I found it fascinating to hear the pathway and actually how important it was for her mum to help her step by step. And I just find that that's one of the main things that I want people to take away, that although you're not a professional, it's really important that you are aware of what is happening and what the steps that you need to take. Don't forget to join my Facebook group called Selective Mutism, My Child is Scared of Talking, and that's how I met Jessica. You will find many videos like this in my channel. Don't forget to subscribe, to ask any questions, and especially if you've got any requests for videos, remember to let me know how old your child is and what stage they are at. Every day is a new day. You make your own sunshine. I'll see you in part 2.